If you have typed, "How do I quit smoking without gaining weight?" into a search bar, two things are true. First, that is a smart question, not a vain one. And second, you are right to be nervous about it, because most people who quit really do put on weight. The figure people usually dread is somewhere around 10 to 15 pounds. So the fear is real. It is just that the conclusion most people draw from it is wrong, and I want to walk you through why. Because once you understand the actual mechanism, you can sidestep most of it. Here is the myth worth breaking right at the start. People assume the weight gain is purely a slowed metabolism, some unavoidable biological tax for giving up nicotine. And there is a grain of truth in that. Nicotine is a stimulant, so it does mildly suppress your appetite and nudge your metabolism up a little, which means quitting will shift things slightly no matter what you do. I am not going to pretend that part does not exist, but that small metabolic change is not what straps 15 pounds onto somebody. The real driver is behavioral, and it has a name worth knowing. It is substitution. Let me explain what substitution actually does to you, because this is the whole game. When you force yourself to quit on sheer willpower, your brain suddenly loses a reliable source of dopamine it has leaned on for years. And it does not calmly accept that loss. It panics, and it immediately goes hunting for a replacement. The fastest, cheapest source of dopamine on the entire planet is sugar, carbs, and snacks. So you white-knuckle your way through the cravings, you feel deprived and miserable, and your brain quietly steers you toward the fridge to fill the hole the cigarette left behind. You did not trade smoking for nothing. You traded it for emotional eating. And here's the detail that changes everything. That overeating is triggered by the deprivation itself, by the felt sense of loss. Which means if you can find a way to quit without ever feeling deprived, you take the single biggest and most controllable cause of that weight gain off the table before it even starts. That is the entire promise behind a different kind of approach. A systematic 6-day psychological method that changes your brain's relationship with cigarettes first, so that there is no sense of loss, no aching void left behind, and therefore very little urge to stuff that void full of food. To see why that works, it helps to understand why the usual toolkit fails on both fronts at once. Think about what most quitting tools actually do. The typical quit smoking aids, the stop smoking aids sitting on the pharmacy shelf, the smoking cessation aids your doctor tends to reach for first, are nearly all built around a single job, which is tapering the nicotine down slowly. And that handles the chemical side. The problem is that it does almost nothing for the psychology. So your physical withdrawal might be a bit gentler, but the part of your brain that genuinely believes it needs the cigarette is left completely intact. You still feel empty. You still feel stressed. You still feel like something is missing from your day. And an empty, stressed brain that is searching for comfort does not reach for a carrot stick. This is exactly why so many smoking cessation programs manage to win the nicotine battle and lose the weight battle in the very same breath. So the real question becomes, how do you quit without sending your brain straight into famine mode? And the answer is a complete psychological system that works on 3 layers instead of just one. The first layer is conscious restructuring, built on cognitive behavioral therapy and rational emotive behavior therapy. In plain terms, that means catching the automatic thought the instant it fires. The "I need to put something in my mouth to handle this" thought. CBT drags that thought out into the open and forces it to justify itself. Then REBT goes after the rigid belief underneath it, the "I cannot cope right now without something," and takes it apart before it ever turns into a trip to the pantry. The second layer goes deeper because a reflex this old does not actually live in your conscious mind. This is where hypnotherapy to quit smoking comes in, and in this method it is used twice on purpose to reach that subconscious reflex loop directly. By using hypnotherapy to quit smoking to build genuine indifference towards cigarettes, you keep the brain from ever sliding into that famine mindset in the first place. No panic over lost dopamine means no desperate hunt for a sugar replacement to make up for it. And then there is the third layer, which is the counterintuitive one. To avoid the shock that sets off the binge eating in the first place, you actually keep smoking mindfully for the first 5 days, while those subconscious triggers are being quietly rewritten underneath you. There is no cliff to suddenly fall off. so there is never a crash you have to eat your way through. Put those three things together: the conscious work, the subconscious conditioning, and a gentle on-ramp instead of a cold turkey shock, and you are not simply quitting smoking. You are quitting in the one specific way that does not summon a food addiction to move in and take its place. And that, honestly, is the best way to stop smoking without handing the problem straight over to your waistline. Now you are probably wondering where any of this actually exists as something you can use rather than just a nice theory. The clearest example I have come across is QuitSure, which is a structured 6-day cessation program delivered through a modern quit smoking app. And the design is really the whole point here. Unlike traditional stop smoking programs that demand instant total quitting on day one, which spikes your cortisol and practically begs you to overeat, this quit smoking program eases you through the psychology first before anything is ever taken away from you. It also stands out in what is, frankly, a hugely crowded market. Scroll through any app store and you immediately hit a wall of basic smoking cessation apps, standard apps to stop smoking, one generic stop smoking app after another, and most of them are little more than a glorified daily counter. A lot of them are technically a free quit smoking app, sure, but plenty of those simply weaponize guilt and streaks to keep you opening the thing every morning. Picking out a single genuinely researched smoking cessation app, one that actually uses cognitive behavioral engineering instead of shame, is the smartest filter you have for finding the best app to quit smoking. On the cost, since you are almost certainly wondering, it is a paid program after the first day, but it works out to roughly what a smoker spends on a single week of cigarettes, or honestly, a couple of junk food cravings. So it is about as practical as these things get. And to its credit, it is not running purely on vibes. QuitSure has published peer-reviewed research in the JMIR journals, which is the Journal of Medical Internet Research, reporting an 80.1% success rate among program completers at the 30-day mark. But I want you to stay clear-eyed about that number, because the wording really matters. It describes the people who actually finished the full 6 days, not someone who downloaded it and never opened it again. Do the program, and the odds genuinely look strong. Skip it, and no app on earth is going to save you. With over 3 million downloads behind it, a lot of people have already tested that out in the real world. So here is the bottom line I want to leave you with. Quitting was never supposed to be about suffering harder, white-knuckling for longer, or quietly swapping one craving for another at the kitchen counter. When you genuinely want the best way to stop smoking for good, the move is not to fight the habit with raw discipline until something finally snaps. It is to remove the desire itself. And here's the quiet payoff in all of this. When there is no desire, there is no deprivation. When there is no deprivation, there is no scramble for replacement dopamine. And when your brain is not quietly begging for sugar to plug some hole the cigarette left behind, your weight has far less reason to start climbing. You quit the cigarettes and you give yourself the best possible shot at sidestepping the weight gain that so often tags along for the ride. If that is the version of quitting you have been searching for, QuitSure is in the app stores and the link is in the description below.